Okay. All right. We are recording. So, hey, girls, thanks for popping on. We are super excited to have our guest speaker, Bobby. He came to our school probably a couple weeks ago, almost a month ago maybe, and just spoke to the kids about his story. And first of all, he played sports, so the kids were like all in. But just being like a D1 athlete and just, kind of like feeling like he had it all, and then just kind of like one choice turned into another. And he always talked about and always preached about how he turned his like pain that he had into this big purpose that he's doing. And that's kind of like what's leading him into what he's doing right now. And so I related to him a lot just because I, battle anxiety and depression, and just to hear that from somebody that you like look up to, or like an idol or something. I just hope that this kind of like hits you guys hard, that, everybody's human, everyone goes through struggles. And so I am actually going to mute myself, and then Bobby, I'm going to let you do your thing. Blow us away.
All right. It sounds good. And hey, Megs, if you have any questions like through this thing, like just let me know.
Okay, and then they might put it in the chat, so I don't know if you can see that, but
I don't know that I can.
Okay.
Which way? Mess anything up here? So, I see a chat actually. I think I don't know. Anyways,
I can read them to you too later.
No, you're good. Whatever you want to do.
Okay.
Yeah. So, as Megan mentioned, my name is Bobby Jones. I am now a speaker and a hip hop artist. I travel the world doing, I guess you could say, my thing. I have been doing this the last 5 years of my life. I encountered Megan back in April 8th is when I was at Gredinger Terrell. And my big target is the youth of today. I really saw a generation that was heading down a path of destruction, kind of like the path that I went down for a lot of years. And I'll share a little bit of my backstory tonight. And I'll talk about what I decided to do and how I came out of that all. But I saw a generation that was heading down a very destructive path because they were making choices that they didn't understand what the consequences are going to be. And they're in the middle of that right now. Like literally they're making choices that I call them adult choices. They're making adult choices, so there's going to be adult consequences with that. But the backstory is I grew up in Yankton, South Dakota, and from a young age, I was a middle child, and I really felt that I was always being compared to my older brother, and he was the poster child. He was always the child that everyone loved, and he, came through school first, so he'd get good grades, and he'd be respectful in the classroom, he'd get his homework done, and he was really good at sports from a young age. And I felt like when I came through after him, a lot of people really compared me to him and wanted me to be like him and didn't really want to know who I was. So I made a decision at a young age to not give people the accurate version of me. And I believe that hurt me because as I went through life, I was able to put on more of a facade. I was able to blend in situations. I was able to be a chameleon, so to speak. I could adapt with this crowd. I could adapt with this crowd. I could adapt with this crowd. And so it was a crazy situation of being able to blend in anywhere I go, and that obviously can be very, very damaging if you don't know who you are. And so that's what led me down a path, and I actually ended up getting to high school and finally made a decision that football was going to be something that I was gonna have that they couldn't take from me, that no one could take from me. And I decided to really put my all into that sport. And I got in a situation where I had to go to junior college because my grades were not good enough. I had a 1.6 GPA in high school, and I went to a junior college, but my world got turned upside down as I left junior college as the number 2 junior college defensive end in the country and the number 26 player overall. And so my life kind of changed for me there. I was 19 years old when I had all this attention and one of the top recruits, junior college recruits in the nation. And so I decided to sign my letter of intent to Michigan State. Well, came with that was responsibility. Came with that was a pressure to perform at a high level. And I was so far from home. I don't know if I was acclimated to the college game or whatever it was. And I just couldn't live up to it. I got in a lot of trouble off the field. I got in a lot of trouble, with drinking. I got in trouble in the dorms and just different things. And because of that, I never really saw the field at Michigan State. Because at that level, Division I coaches, if they can't trust you off the field, they're never going to put you on the field. And so that's kind of where my life started to take a decline, and my life started to become a situation that I was becoming a character question. They said, okay, there's this kid, really, did we make the right choice here? He's getting in more trouble off the field, and he's not really producing on the field. And it led to me ultimately getting kicked off the team at Michigan State. And when I got kicked off the team, I was kind of in a situation where I was like kind of delusional. And I was like, okay, maybe I can still go to the NFL. I don't know. So I was looking at schools that I could just go in and play right away instead of so I could play right away instead of actually having to worry about school. So I went to Division II school in Omaha, Nebraska. They no longer have a football team, but they did a time and the head coach didn't see eye to eye. And I didn't play a lot that year. And the draft came and went. So I got invited to an all-star game before that. A lot of 8 teams talked to me. And the draft came and went, and I didn't get a call. And April 27, 2008, the 29th consecutive NFL draft ended, and that was it. My dream of playing in the NFL was no longer. Football went out the window. My identity went right behind it. And it was safe to say that I was completely lost. And I had no clue what I was going to do, because at that time I thought that football was the only thing I could do. Football was the only thing I was going to ever be good at. And so I was really devastated. And I fell into a bad life of depression, anxiety, alcoholism. Really got to a point of where I wanted to take my life, got to a point where my family didn't want much to do with me, got to a point where I thought life was about surviving. I thought life was about getting through, and it worked out for some, and others it didn't work out for, and I was just one it didn't work out for. And I was like, man, how did I get to this point? Because I'm staring at myself, and I'm realizing that alcohol is a big issue in my life. I have a DUI, I have disorderly conduct, I'm getting in trouble with the law. There's all these things going on. I'm not allowed home. My family doesn't want anything to do with me. And so I'm just like, man, my life has become a complete mess. And it came to April 2011. I was 370 pounds. I was peeing blood. My liver was going out. I didn't want to live. I didn't know what my purpose was. I didn't know what my life would result to. I thought that since football was gone, there's nothing else I'm good at. That's a lie that I believed for so long in my life. And it got to a point where I said, I got to do something about this. I have to do something about this. And so I decided to check myself into Keystone Treatment Center for the first time, 30-day inpatient treatment. And I said, man, I got to do something about this. And I went to treatment, and I went in there for 30 days. And I thought maybe I was equipped with some of the tools that I needed to live and do what I was supposed to do, stay sober. But I came out not knowing if I could.
I can't hear you.
What's that?
Hold on. There we go. I was just trying to mute her.
Is that better? Can you guys hear me? Okay.
Oh yeah, you're doing good.
Okay, that's what's up. And so I came out of treatment. I didn't know. I was very scared. I didn't know how to live life. I was like, man, I don't even know how to live life sober. I don't know if I can even do this. I don't even know if I can make good choices. Because at that point, I was 26 years old, and I hadn't made good choices. I thought the world was owed me something. I thought somebody owed me things. I thought things were handed to me, because when I was at Michigan State, that level of football, it's almost a false reality, because we get things done for us. We had tutors. We had we had meal plans, everything they did for us. I didn't even know my classes until the day before my classes. I mean, that's how much they do for you at that level. And so it really creates a false reality for you. And so when I came out of college and all that stuff, and with everything I was dealing with, I really thought that, man, the world owes me something. And so I really wasn't trying to live a high quality life at that time. And I came out scared, didn't know how to live life sober. And I made about 2 years, and I fell back into it again, because I always reverted back to my old ways, all the time. It's what I knew. I didn't know any more, and we can only grow to the knowledge of the things that we learn, and I didn't learn anything more. I learned that if I have an issue, I self-medicate. Issue, self-medicate, and that's what I learned from my life. And so I fell back after 2 years, and it actually got worse than the first time. I end up drinking really heavy. I couldn't stop. It was really just, it's like it was pulling me. It would start midweek, and it would start pulling me and pulling me. And by Friday night, I'd end up drunk. And then Saturday, I didn't want to deal with the hangover, so I'd get up at 7, 8 a.m., and I'd start drinking again. And I just really felt that this was going to be my life. I was like, man, alcohol is going to be all I ever know. And I remember my mom saying that to me at one point in time. She said, alcohol is going to be all you ever know, son. And I started to believe. I was like, man, maybe she's right. Maybe she is right. Maybe that's the only thing I'll ever know. And so I kept going, and it kept getting worse and worse. In September 2014, I attempted suicide. I slit my wrist. I grabbed a knife right here. I don't know if you can see the scar. It's probably dark, but I grabbed the knife and I didn't look, and I went, and it was a deep cut. I didn't realize how deep it was. And my arm was gushing blood, and it was in front of a friend, and she started bawling. And I'm laughing because that's how far gone I am. And this was in 2014. And I went to Avera Behavioral that night, or the hospital. They looked at me. They wouldn't take me to Avera Behavioral. Then I ended up in jail in a mental home. And that's when I realized that my life was out of control. I'm like, man, this is crazy. This is nuts, man. Like, this is where I've gotten to. And so I started to make a decision around that time. And faith is a big part of this. I gave my life to Christ around in 2012. I'll answer questions about that or whatever if we want later. But I had to make a decision around that time. I had to make a decision, and I had to say, okay, we're going to either let this thing keep us down and take us out and kill us, Bobby, or we're going to fight, and we're going to stand back up, and we're going to get to work. And see, to that point in time, I really didn't believe anything I said I could do. If I told you I could do something, I wouldn't even believe it. So I didn't expect you to believe it. My word meant nothing back then. It was just a thing where I was really just trying to wish and hope that something better would come along, and I would catch a wave of luck, and I would burst out of it. And but I just started to make a decision. I said, okay, you got to do something, and you got two options. And I asked myself, I said, so what are you going to do? And I decided to fight. I said, I'm going to fight. And I said, no care how long it takes, how hard it is, I'm going to fight. See, at that point in time, I had a mess of people in my life, bad people. Had people in my life. I had addictions in my life. Not only was I addicted to alcohol, but I was codependent. I was leaning on people for money. I didn't pay for a thing because I couldn't afford a thing. I couldn't hold a job. I mean, there was just so many bad things that I've developed emotionally. Like I said, depressed. I had bad panic attacks, anxiety. I would go to the hospital thinking I had a heart attack. And so I had all these things. When I'm standing at this point in my life and I'm looking ahead of me and I'm saying, man, dude, you got a mountain to climb, bruh. And so you got a mountain to climb. And so, but I started making a decision to fight. And then I asked myself, what does that look like for you? Like, do you even know what that looks like? Do you even know how to fight? You don't have any ambition. You haven't had it since college. You don't get excited about anything. There's nothing that motivates you. So do you even know how to fight? And I knew at that point that in order for me to go someplace I've never been, I had to do some things that I've never done. And that was going to be hard. And that was going to be a process. That was going to be with people saying, I don't believe you because you haven't shown me to this point. And so I had pretty much the odds stacked against me, right? And so it was a thing where no one believed it. I didn't even know at the time if I really believed it when I first said it, but I knew that I could possibly do it. And so if I knew that there was a little bit of hope there, that I could do it. And so I said, all right, you're going to do it. And so I had to figure out some things. I had to figure out, one, who I was. I had no clue who I was, no clue whatsoever. I let so many people's opinions, the things that I've been through, I let all those things define who I am at the time. That's what I thought. I mean, people told me I was this, I was that, I was third. The things that I'd been through was telling me, I mean, all these things. So I had no clue who I was. So I had to silence all the noise and I had to figure out who I was. The second thing I had to do, because this thing haunted me so bad, is I had to find out, like, I had to realize that my past was my past and it didn't have to define my future. I didn't have to let my past experiences be how I was remembered, and I didn't have to carry all that baggage, right? Because we have baggage from our past. Didn't have to carry all that baggage into the future. And the biggest thing is I didn't have to let people remind me of that either. And then in the midst of that, I had to find new friends. We become like the people we spend the most time with. If we're around people that belittle us, if we're around people that don't have dreams, motivation, if we're around people that always are saying, oh, you can't, you can't, you can't, you can't. No, you can't. I can't, you can't. You know what I'm saying? Those will all affect our situation. And then I had to find someone who knew a little bit more than me, like a mentor. And I had to listen, because I didn't think that I was wrong much back then at all, really. I really thought, I was really narcissistic back then, so I really thought that I knew everything and all this stuff, and it was really unhealthy. And then I had to find the last way. I had to give it back. How can I get out of myself? Because I really feel that when I'm so wrapped up in me, it's bad news. And no one believed I could do it, but I said, you know what? I think I can do this. I think I can. And so I started doing all that. I had to figure out who I was. I had to sit and I had to look myself in the mirror at the time. And I didn't like the person that I saw, but I had to look myself in the mirror and say, all right, dude, maybe you're not as awesome as you think you are. Maybe you're not always right. You know, and so, and then and a part of all that, I had to start taking ownership of my life. I had to quit blaming people. I was tired of blaming everybody for everything that I had went through. I was tired of it. So I said, I'm going to own it all. Even if someone comes up to me, punches me in my face, it's my fault. I don't care. I'm tired of blaming. It's my fault. Because I was tired of it. I was tired of using excuses for things not going well in my life. And so I did that. I decided to find out who I was. I stopped blaming. I cut all my friends out. My best friend since 5th grade, I cut him. Had to go. All my boys I grew up with, I cut them all out. They didn't get any explanation from me. I just cut them off, because I knew that I had to surround myself with people that had been through what I've been through, but had gotten to the other side of it. And so I found those people. I'd watch those people in church. And I said, oh, Randy Hartz, I want that. That's what I want. So I would watch them. I would observe and say, hey, you're going to mentor me. I'd make people mentor me. And you know what I'm saying? If there's something going on, boom. You know what I'm saying? I had to make little commitments. I had to get to be my word, because my word meant nothing. So for me, commitment started Wednesday, Sunday, I'm not missing a church service. So, and then before that, so then that turned into a month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months. Before you know it, I'm going to church. Before you know it, I'm meeting with a mentor every week. Before you know it, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Hold on, I got to release this music. You know, saying before you know it, I'm saying things and I'm actually doing things. And so, and I found a mentor. I gave it back, and then about 6 months after, and then so around that time I went back. Around the time I went back to treatment, January 2nd, 2015. And I got on my knees. I surrendered. I said, I can't do this anymore. I can't do this anymore. And I gave it over. And I said, we're going to go on this thing. And that was a little over 4 years ago. And before you know it, I started creating a habit. I started creating a culture for myself. And I got to a point where I could fly under the radar as long as I wanted to fly under the radar until I was on the radar. And then it started being the thing. It was kind of a cool thing, because people are like, man, do y'all see what's going on with Bobby over there? Before you know it, I'm in this school, and I got connected with this organization. I'm in this school, and I'm going to speak to this group, and this group, and this group. And then before you know it, I'm in the middle of something. And I was about 5 events in, and I said, maybe I can become a speaker. I mean, people are taking to it. I didn't set out to be a speaker, but people were taken to the message. So I said, maybe I can do this. And that's what I did. And so around that time, I got fired from a full-time job that I shouldn't have been fired from. And I felt like God was saying, let's go. It's time to go, man. And I stepped out, and around that time, I started making a music album. I've never rapped before in my life, but I felt like I was supposed to make a music album, and then I did, and I put it out, and people took to that. And so before you know it, I found pain in my purpose. I found a situation of like everything that I went through, all the pain, all the purpose, everything that I went through was not for nothing. And I'll be honest with you, it was literally the hardest thing I've ever done. Like, it was not easy. I'm actually coming out with a book. It's done. We just got to go through one more final edit, and then we got to publish and all that stuff. And we're close. But I outlined all this in there. But it was the hardest thing I've ever done. Was having to make the changes of the things that I wasn't used to doing in my life. And I knew that if I did those things, it was going to mean being alone for a little bit, because sometimes being a leader means standing alone. And I was tired of going with the crowd. And so I knew it was going to be hard, and it was. It wasn't easy cutting out my best friend from 5th grade. It wasn't easy cutting out my boy since we were boys since junior high school. It wasn't easy. I had to distance myself from my family. My mom was very verbally abusive to me for 10 years. So I had to distance myself from her for a while. That was not easy for me. You know what I'm saying? I didn't go to the same places I used to go to. I would stay home on Friday nights. I wouldn't go to the bars. I wouldn't do, even if I was I wouldn't do any of that. You know, taking life sober head on was hard for me. But when I finally did enough of it, it created a habit, and it turned into a culture. And now it's a lifestyle. And now that's just the norm for me. I'm around people that uplift me. I'm around people that speak life into me. I don't have nonsense in my life today. It became a thing where those people that used to talk bad about me now come to me for advice, because they see how my life has changed. I'm a public figure now. I travel. I've been to 2 countries since. I've been up to the West Coast, been all over the Midwest. I believe it's just starting. Been doing it for like 4 years, 5 years. And it's crazy that it took all that pain for my purpose to be revealed, but the impact that has come from that has been the most amazing thing to me. I was just in Iowa doing school assemblies, and I was just telling Megan earlier that is the most impact I've had in 4 or 5 years, that has been like known in the natural, that I could actually see. Like, there's some things you hear about that you don't see, but that I actually see. These kids, I couldn't even keep up with Instagram messages. It was nuts. And it just goes to look, and I was looking back, it's like, man, this is nuts. At one point in time, I didn't even think that I could, do anything of value. I didn't think my story could ever be used. I never thought that anyone would ever look at me and say, you inspire me. And so it's just been crazy how that's changed in my life, how different my life looks today. And my tagline is I'm just a man of God who learned turns pain into purpose. And in those 4 or 5 years, I have healed from a lot of stuff. I know how to have arguments today. I don't have anger anymore. I can have a conversation with people if we have conflict. Just so much things have changed. I look at things so differently. I show grace to people. I mean, it's just so many things have changed in my life today. And it's been just an incredible journey. And it's just beginning. But I'm truly honored to be in situations like this, where I'm asked to come speak and share my story and share the other side of it. To know that no matter what you girls are doing, no matter what the task is ahead of you, no matter what you've been through, no matter what people say about you, if you believe in something enough and you believe in yourself to do those things, I promise you can change your life no matter what it is. And you can use somebody else, like someone else can use your story to be their launching pad into their future. And no matter where you're at in life, I always say it's never too late to stop and relaunch it. Because if you don't like the path you're going down, you can always do something to change it. It's hard for me to give advice today because a lot of people don't want to do the things that I did. And so when they come to me, I say, hey, have you cut your friends out? I don't want to do it. But I tell them, you're going to keep getting the same thing if you decide to keep doing the same thing. It will not change. There's no way it will change. The talking has to turn into action. Action will turn into lifestyle. I don't know if you guys want to ask questions. I can go into some of this a little more detail. It's up to y'all, whatever y'all want to do. I like the Q&A aspect. But
Dang. So when I heard you at school, it was crazy because I was talking with Aaron the other day, and I was talking about my friends, and all of my friends that I used to have when I started teaching, like they're still my friends, but they're just not like my girl gang, you know? And I was telling him that all of my friends, like my best friends, are these girls on these calls and stuff. And so when I go on these trips and hang out with all these girls and people are like, you've never met them? I'm like, but they're my best friends. Like I literally met them. Yeah. So when I was at school and you said, you know, cut out those people, I literally was like, I did that. And I didn't even realize that I did that. I think, you know, I just subconsciously was like, you know.
Well, here's the thing with that too, if you don't mind me jumping in here.
No, go for it.
When you automatically start doing things differently and heading in a path of where you know it's headed towards impact, or you know you're not, the old life isn't as accessible anymore, people will drop off because they won't. A lot of people will not run after what you want to run after. They just won't do it. So many people use pain as a badge of honor. They say I mean, you see it every day on social media. What's done to me? Oh, this was done to me. This was done to me. This was done to me. And at the end of the day, playing the victim will get your head chopped off. And because it's a situation where it doesn't help you or anybody involved, and it's toxic. And so I say, when are you going to stop becoming the victim and start becoming the victor? And so when I started running after this life, there's a lot of people that dropped off naturally anyways because they don't want any parts of that, because they saw that it was hard, it's too much work, and they don't want to do it. So automatically, you'll find the people that you gravitate towards. If you start, you automatically find the people that you're in community with. So if I decide to start drinking again or whatever, I'm gonna find those people, right? Like you're gonna find the people that you're in community with. So if you start doing these things, you're gonna find, if you start heading towards purpose and impact, those type of people just gravitate towards you and you gravitate towards them, and things change that way. So automatically people will start dropping off because they'll see that what's required is not easy. So.
Yeah, I love that. I have a question and then I'll let someone else go. Okay, so how do you feel like this is something that I struggle with as a coach, because obviously, you know, we're health and fitness coaches. So what we're doing and what's helping us, we want to help other people. And so a lot of, you know, successful coaches have that mindset shift of serving other people with your story and stuff. But I feel like as newer coaches, or even as coaches, you know, who've been coaching forever, we just struggle with the difference between like living your life and building that business and then like serving other people. I don't know if you have any like.
Yeah. So I always say this: money is the byproduct of vision. I don't chase the money. I don't. I do I need it to live? Yes, but I don't chase the money. Like I'll take a booking for $100 if it's where I'm supposed to be. You know what I'm saying? Like that's just what I'll do. I never charge that low, but I'm saying like I don't go into like, oh, I'm gonna make this money, I'm gonna make this money, I'm gonna make this money. You know what I'm saying? Like I go into it as I'm chasing the vision that's laid before me. And so whatever that vision is, for me, it's impacting today's youth. As I continue to impact and as I continue to chase the vision that's in my heart, and what the vision to me is, I jumped off the cliff so someone else doesn't have to. And so if I can lay that before them and say, hey, this is what I've done, this is what worked, this is what didn't work. If you go this way, you're gonna jump off the cliff, you know what I'm saying? And so I always chase the vision. So if you always chase the vision will always sustain it. Money, it's not sustainable. It's not. Money comes, money goes. You spend it, you don't spend it, you could lose it all. You go bankrupt, whatever it is. Like money's it's not a sustainable thing. It's here one day and it's gone the next. So you have to chase the vision. So I guess the question you ladies would have to ask yourself is, why are you doing this? If you can answer why you're actually doing it, then you will have a chance to sustain it. And then the money will come. You know what I'm saying? The money will come. But yeah, serving others, absolutely. Being able to serve and just say, hey, I'm here to help. I'm here to use my experiences to help the next person. Does that answer your question?
Heck yeah, mic drop. You guys have any questions for him? You want to pick his brain? I know he's not like a Beachbody coach and stuff, but man, his story and mindset and
I'm actually gonna get some of her coaching.
Yes.
I need to get back in the gym, man.
We got you.
Maybe y'all can help me out with that. Maybe we can help each other. No, I need yeah, anyways.
Oh my gosh, I love
y'all inspire me. Y'all inspire me with what y'all do, you know. Y'all definitely inspire me, and no, it's fun to watch. So
you guys have any questions for him?
Oh, come on, you got questions.
He loves like Q&A,
so let me ask y'all. Yeah, so I can't. So I have to say that. I can't tell you that without saying this. I love Jesus. Jesus, I gave my life to Christ 6 years ago. I wouldn't be anywhere today without him. Make no mistake. I wouldn't be anywhere today without him. He saved my life. He gave. I heard the gospel when I was 26. And that was the start of this whole thing. But so that my identity comes from him. So I have to just disclose that I love Jesus. But there are practical steps that I had to take too with this, because I had to continue pursuing. And so, but yeah, I had a question for you guys. I forgot what it was though.
Morgan asked a little bit on what you were talking about. She said, could you touch a little bit on bringing faith back into your life and how it helped lift you up? Yeah.
So faith was never in my life. Faith was never in my life. I grew up as a Catholic. I went to church because I had to, but no one ever told me about a relationship with Jesus, right? And so I thought that church was something you did when you got your life on track. Like, I thought that's something you did. Like, when I started cleaning myself up, I thought I could go to church. Well, I didn't know that you come as you are and God does the cleaning up. And so when I saw the gospel at 26 years old, actually, God, how he did my testimony is pretty crazy. God actually used Christian hip hop to save my life. I wasn't in church. There was no altar call. I was listening. I met a Christian girl she called herself a Christian. She would come and hang out. And every time she would leave, she would leave like short reads with me, paragraph reads, and like 1-minute Bibles and this thing called Christian hip hop. And she would say she forgot it, but she was really trying to leave it there so I'd read it. And one day I was late to work and I threw in one of those CDs that she left, and I heard a song by a guy named Lecrae called Indwelling Sin that changed, and there's a line in the song that changed my life, because I could relate to, he was struggling between his good self and bad self, and I could relate to that because I was trying to do good at the time, and it really spoke to me. So, and then the next day I was home alone. I was researching this guy because I said, I gotta find out who this Lecrae guy is, and I gave my life to Christ on the couch on the west side of Sioux Falls. So that's how I ran into God. That's how I heard the gospel. And so, but for me, what the hardest thing for me is my background was so bad. Like, I was addicted to alcohol for 10 years. I had done some bad things, 2 DUIs, disorderly conduct, assault and batteries, just all these things. And so when I met Jesus, I didn't think I was worthy and that he wanted much to do with me. But through that, I worked through the show, and people taught me, though, he wants everything to do with you. He died for you because he loves you. And so that's the hardest thing for me, was getting past the fact that I was a new person, that I wasn't the old person, And so I have made it through that journey today. There are some days where that can be tough still today because, sometimes the lies are very loud. So that is your question.
Yeah. I have a question. So a lot of us girls have different things that we struggle with or that we're
Mhm.
trying to share with other people to relate with them. But
Yeah.
obviously it's hard to like peel back the onion kind of thing. Do you have any like, I don't know, any tips or anything on just, I don't know.
For like, so for you to help people.
Yeah, I mean, because like obviously, I don't know, like I just feel like my job is just sharing me and my story and like,
Yeah.
relating to my people. But I
Yep.
think I've been telling it for 3 years. So for me, it might be easier than a person who's just kicking off and is like, oh my God, I have to do what? Or, like it's not that we have to, it's just that you just get to that point in your life where you're like, I don't know, want to
I
share
mean,
this with people.
I, yeah. For me, like I know when I just meet people, for them to share their story with me, I have to build a relationship with them.
Right.
Relationship is key. I have like some of those guys I were telling you about that I cut off. Um, One of them just came back to me this last year, and he was going through divorce. He said, "Man, I need your help." And I was learning, like they step into my world, I don't step into theirs, but I have a relationship with him, so I can tell him anything that I want. You know what I'm saying? Because I have a relationship, so I can share the gospel with him openly because he's like a brother to me, and so. But I think for me, for people to, and I think as they get more comfortable with what they're doing and going in it, I think they'll be more comfortable to share that. Um, I A lot of that's attached to shame because the things we go through, we don't want people to know. It That's a hard question for me to answer because I was just like, here, like I was this and I was that, and so like I just said it, like because I figured if I say it, they can't use it against me. You know what I'm saying? And so, um, I think as they get more comfortable, as they build more relationships, they'll be more comfortable sharing their story. And let me encourage people in that too tonight. We all have a story. I hear all the time, well, I don't have a testimony like yours. It doesn't matter. You have a story. It may not be like mine, but that's okay. That's what makes us different. So you have a story to share, and always someone that needs to hear your story. So just understand that as you journey through this, um, your story is important. And yeah, I get it. You have to trust people to share certain things, but a lot of shame is attached to it because, we don't want people to know what we went through because sometimes we think people will judge us and different things, and some people do. But then there's some people that will open up and say, "Man, you feel like that? I feel like that too." So
Yeah, because I mean, I remember listening to your story for the first time at school, and so many of my kids came back to my classroom and picked different pieces. Obviously, like, I had sixth graders, so they didn't struggle with alcoholism, but maybe, a parent or somebody, like, they just picked different pieces from your story that they related to. And, like, I think that's why it was such a crazy impact for them.
right,
So when you were
that's
speaking, I
awesome.
literally was like thinking about these girls, like, oh my gosh, like, that's what we do basically. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
awesome.
that's cool. No, um, anything worth doing is anything worth doing is honestly, it's going to be hard. It's not going to be easy. This thing doesn't come overnight. We live in a weird world today where we want the microwave right now, right now, right now, and it's just not realistic. Like, you know, it's not realistic. For me, maybe this will put it into perspective. People, I get asked, Bobby, like, what do you want to accomplish in music and this and that? And yes, I do music. I'm a Christian hip hop artist. Trust me, I'm blown away too. I didn't know that would ever be possible, but whatever. I guess he just does things. But like, what you want to win a Grammy, and where do you want to speak at, and what like success, and where do you. But if I'm being honest, success for me is if I never go back to that bottle. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm 4 years sober. that thing pretty much destroyed me and my family. You know what I'm saying? If I never go back to that, that's success for me. So you have to, success is not overall, it's individual. We all have different things that we want to accomplish. You know what I'm saying? If I sit down today, if God says, Bobby, it's time to sit down, you need to go be a janitor. There'll be some tears because I cry, I'm emotional. This is one of my songs. But it would be tough, but I would say, okay. But to what's happened to this point, that's success for me too. So, but never going back to alcohol would be success for me because it was something that nearly destroyed my life. So if that puts into perspective, you have to define what the success is for you, and no one else can define that for you.
Question: what do you do for like personal development? Like, what do you do to fill your cup?
Yeah, that's good. So I love to read. For me, I have mentors in my life that I have to, sit down with. Sometimes I have to completely step back and step back from what I'm doing and don't do anything work related. I love meeting with people, being able to, I have Bible studies that I go to, life groups that really fill me up. I'm always trying to learn new things in faith and different things like that. So it's just different things that I do. Bible studies really have grown me a lot though. And being submitted in those Bible studies to whoever's leading them to say, okay, I know I'm a public figure out here and I lead people out here, but here I'm trying to get led. And so a lot of that stuff, reading the Bible, reading books, Bible studies, meet my mentors, my accountability, different things like that, is really what continues to grow me. I never want to stay the same. Well, you can't stay the same. You're either getting worse or you're not. And so if I'm staying the same, then I never want to be at a place where I'm comfortable. Because comfort zones are great. You just can't grow there. You'll never grow in your comfort zone, right? And so I always want to be a thing where I'm being challenged. If I'm being challenged, I give people permission. Hey, call me out on something, man. If you feel that I'm wrong here, call me out on that. Like, I want to know I'm wrong, I don't want people to yes me and different things like that. Yeah, if that answers your question.
Yeah, it does.
A few different things, so.
Okay.
So sometimes I'll go for drives, walks, whatever. So.
Yeah, love it. Girls, you guys have anything? Y'all shy?
Jody M, I know you got something.
Jody.
Miss Vic does too, I already know. Has this been beneficial for y'all?
Yeah. I love hearing things outside because we are like so, oh my gosh, like, coaching and like Beachbody, like this box, and just hearing you at school, I was like, I need him on my call. And so, yeah.
Thank you.
It just helps for sure.
So I got, remember I challenged you on some things early on?
Yeah.
Let me bring those challenges back. I don't know if I remember anything. So like, the one thing I would say though, and this isn't me saying you're not or you are, whatever. The one thing I would say is always know who you are. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't let this thing become your identity. You know what I mean? Like, it's easy caught up in the followers and these and that. And even within the stage and what I do, I never want this to become my identity because it's not who I am. You know what I mean? Like, one day music will be done. One day I'll sit down from speaking, and I never want that to be a thing where I'm like, I'm lost without it, because I did it with football and I don't want to. So just don't let this become your identity. Let it be something you do in an avenue to impact people. But know that just know that it's not who you are. And that's what I'm talking about, everybody, because it can be easy to, I want 20,000 followers. And I want 100,000, you know what I'm saying? It's easy to do that. We live in a social media world. Like, that's the world we live in. And so just understand that, is an avenue to better yourself, to impact people. Because if you're not impacting anybody, what's the point of doing it? right? Like, if you didn't have a team, would this be as, if you guys couldn't celebrate all your wins together, would this be as impactful? Probably not. You know what I'm saying? Would it be as fun? Probably not. Lifelong friends, I'm sure you've met through this that don't even live near you. Like, those are the best things. You know what I'm saying? So.
Yeah, for sure. Karina, she's ready for you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we
I
can.
can.
Okay. From one recovering alcoholic to another. Thank you.
Absolutely.
All the tears over here. Yeah, I love that you want to attack the youth of today, because it's so, like, I started my journey in addiction before I was even 21. You know, like, that's like
Same.
why I'm on this mission. You know, like, why you've just helped reinforce my why of like why I do this. It's not just health and fitness. It's like, what is your underlying surface? What do you want to do?
Yeah, that's
So,
good.
for real, yeah.
I love that.
Feel
No,
that. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's big. I mean, that's huge to be able to, you know, even along the way, I think our why always is changing, right? Like, our why is always changing along the way, because how it started for me is not the same today. Because even when I started this thing, I was very broken when I started. Not broken, but I had some wounds that I hadn't healed from yet when I first started this thing. And like, I felt it every engagement, every time I went to speak, every kid that I am, like, I just felt healthier, and I was getting healthier, and I was getting healthier, and I was getting healthier, because I realized that me sharing about that. And so now my why looks completely different today than it did back then. You know what I'm saying? And now it's just being a resource for someone to always think and know they can go after a better life, that it's never too late. You can shipwreck and it can look the worst, and you may have no hope and it's all clouded around you, you know what I'm saying? But there's always a way out, you know what I'm saying? And to be honest, when it first started, it was my way out, you know what I'm saying? And now it looks different because of other people. So, yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
I'm proud of you. Keep
Yeah.
rocking. Keep rocking.
Hey, proud of you too.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right. Does anybody else have any other questions or anything?
How many people are on here?
We had like 18 at once, and then now we're down to 12, because I know a lot of people have little kids and stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, we'll have the recording. It'll go to like 300 people. So
that's dope. That's dope. I'd like to see that recording too.
Yeah, I always put it on YouTube, so I will send you the link over for sure.
Dope. That's what's
All right. Well, thank you so much, like, for popping on. I needed my girls to hear you, because when I heard you at school, I was like,
thank you.
Yeah, you know,
it means a lot to me. Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. So
Definitely.
You've shown a lot of love, Megs. I appreciate that. It means a lot to me. So thanks, and I support y'all, and just keep doing what you're doing, and you know, I'm sure you guys are doing great, and I'm sure you're going to continue to build this thing. So
just remember, Team Empower Dynasty, you're part of it now.
there you go. I got it.